Crowder's former co-host Dave Landau went on Michael Malice's podcast and exposed Steven Crowder. So I'm going to play you this, and then I'm going to fill you in on everything else he said, because this was over an hour long after the video's done playing. I mean, let's just say, whoa. Brian Callen was hired to replace Dave Landau, and oh boy, is he in for it. But, so let's see what Dave had to say, though, about his contract negotiations with Crowder. Pretty funny.
It's with our legal team on the revised contract below. It stays on salary, so no extra money. Moves to Texas, moves his family to Texas by the new year, first week.
Wait, so I'm sorry, part of your contract, a proposed contract, was that your family has to be moved across state lines.
Correct. Including
your kid. You have a son. How old's your son?
8, 7
okay.
at the time.
Okay, so pull him out of school during the school year, and he's coming to Texas. Okay.
Yeah. Dave is here every week unless he notifies us well in advance for a show, just like a doctor's appointment. Can't be gone any more than every third weekend.
No, wait, so let's break this down also. Steven has started touring as a comedian.
Yes.
Steven is no dummy. Steven is very well aware that you and every comic, weekends are when you tour, hit the road, you make the money. So he is very clearly taking that secondary or even primary, possibly at this point, source of income from you, because you're just going to be sitting in Dallas for no reason, because it's not like you're doing shows on the weekends with Crowder.
Right, and gone every other third weekends means every 6 weeks.
Okay.
And then writes for show every day.
I'm sorry, I just want to break this down. Was it ever said to you or intimated to you that your touring is affecting somehow your performance or writing for the main show?
Oh, my writing? No. They felt that I had nodded off a few times, which really only happened maybe once or twice on a Monday because of like a delayed flight.
Okay.
But,
okay.
Oh, shit. I mean, that's my opinion. I don't care. Okay. Like, you know, like Anthony never would have cared. Anthony was so full. Like, Anthony would promote my stand-up where I don't even think I would really have to.
Okay.
You know, that's how, even when you look back at the Opie and Anthony days, that's how everybody was making money.
But at the same time, it's also like, if you're going to be up at 7 or what o'clock, you have to be there at 7, you're not exactly going to be all chipper. It's not like you're...
No, and I'm writing on the plane too.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I'm always working. Like, there's not one assignment that I didn't turn in. And I have every screen grab to do that. There's nothing that I ever...
And in fact, you're writing a lot of sketches that just didn't get greenlit, so you're doing extra work in addition to what did get greenlit.
Oh yeah, that's the next part, which is writes for show every day in the form of sketches, in studio bits, pulling from previous sketches, previous show ideas, and that can be turned into sketches. So that's just busy work that I did every day, just for the sake of busy work, which I'll be honest, I hate. It seems so pointless for a show to do, but it's his show. But it's like, why don't we make the best show we can do instead? That's why I think SNL just comes off like it's written by the CIA, because you're just throwing 5 billion things at the wall instead of going, let's take these 7 things and master it.
Yeah.
You know, I just feel like whenever we would do that, like whenever I would host the show and we would put together a sketch that morning, it would look really good, at least for what I wanted, because we were focusing on one thing, not trying to make 3,000 things and then going, well, this half-assed one should work.
Yeah.
And now, man, granted, he has millions and millions of followers, but his show was once that first idea, not just throwing everything just to have busy work, to look like a hard worker.
Yeah.
He was a hard worker. Now it's an illusion, you know? The next thing is he's ready to start his own show his own Friday show by October 14th. So now I have a show every Friday for no extra money. So I can't tour on Fridays.
Let's break this down. So you are going to have your own show, which is a plus.
Yes.
But you're not getting paid a single dime to host your own new show on his network or his platform.
Correct.
And in fact, it's costing you money because now you can't be out, doing 2 shows a Friday night in Tacoma or wherever the hell cares, some other city.
Right.
Okay.
So then,
I've never heard of that. I'm sorry. I've never heard of someone saying, I'm giving you your own show, you're not getting paid for it. I don't understand that.
right. It was, well, it's control, and that was kind of what bothered me. It was the I own you aspect. And then the hours.
But that's the thing. If you're doing your own show, they're making money from ad sales or at the very least adding value to the network because now there's more content and you're not seeing a cent of that.
Right. And that was sort of what it was before, where it was we're going to sweeten the pot, and that didn't happen.
Right.
But it did happen in the sense of road dates.
Okay, right.
So I didn't complain, but then I can't do road dates unless he's on them now.
Right.
So basically I have to give up my stand-up career.
Right.
So then the next thing is hours Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then Friday.
Here's the thing. I also want you to give up your stand-up career, but I'm actually prepared to pay you like a substantial amount of money.
7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay.
Friday, 9 to 5.
Okay.
Which is so I can never catch a plane out of town on a Friday to even do a Saturday. Then I have to be back on Sunday, making it impossible to see my child or do stand-up.
Yep.
And then the next thing is comedy special releases through Louder with Crowder, because he always felt that he owned my special, because he let me keep the door that night.
Okay.
But I didn't sign anything that said, "Oh, you're letting me keep the door, so now you own my comedy."
Wait, hold on. Let's slow down. Like people like Tim Dillon and aforementioned Andrew Schultz, and Lucy Case, another one. They've done Gangbusters by Dave Smith. Libertas would hit #1.
Yes.
They do great numbers and make bank by putting out their special themselves, cutting out the middleman. People are more than happy to toss 10 or 12, 20 bucks. I don't know how much it costs, but it's like, hey, listen, if I don't support this artist, he's not going to be able to pay the rent. I'm more than happy to chip in because I'm getting content that I enjoy. He's making me laugh. This is fair. So his point was this comedy special, which wasn't have anything to do with him. It's your comedy, your stand-up.
Yep.
Can only be he's now just, even though for the same money, he's now going to kind of subsume that into his portfolio.
Yes, it's all inclusive.
Wow. Okay.
And that's a non-negotiable term.
Okay. How were you told? They told you this is non-negotiable?
Yeah. And since I know everything's always being recorded, I was like, you know what, I'll just go ahead and record this too.
Okay.
And I took a screenshot, and then I was either that or I was 1099'd. And that would be for lower money. And it was these parameters that, and I'll send you that because I think it's only fair, that included...
Well, why don't you read them? You don't need me to send them.
The break.
What was the break?
The break was winter break, right after he does his Santa thing.
Okay.
Where we went out for a minute and I was dressed as an elf and I felt a bit degraded. And so I only we filmed a couple things. We had some Visa cards and I was asking people questions, and then I just started handing them to people that didn't speak the language. And then, because I figured he'd never show that. So right before the break, I was in his office, and it was me, him, and John, and he had a conversation with me that he wanted to put out my special, and he was mad that I came to him because I had edited the special, and I wanted to put it out.
So you filmed it without him? In the interim?
I filmed a new one later without him because he wanted this one, and I didn't want him to put it out.
The one that became a Prison 10?
Yes. So the original one was in Dallas, and I didn't want him to put it out because he just thought it was his.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. This is my life story. I mean, there's stuff in there about, my dad's death, my mom's suicide. There's stuff in there that's so personal to me. So it's this isn't yours. So he brought me into his office, and he said how he wished that he made the amount of money that I did last year and all this other stuff. And
Wait,
it was
what? He said that? Or intimated to that?
Yes.
Wait, he was implying that you made more money than him, or significantly more money than him.
Way more money than him, yeah.
Okay.
And I sat there like, and I believed it for a minute. I was like, I don't know what this guy must be paying these employees, or what do you know. And I kind of sat there.
They're not cheap.
No, they're not. China's very expensive for the American Patriot mug. Crap. And he told me, you saying that to me, and I kind of sat there like thinking like I mean, I did well, but it's like, let's be real here. Like, it's not like that. And but it was really odd because it was like John was next to me. He's telling me that, like, I wish I made the amount of money
you made closer to fuck me money than fuck you money.
Yes. And I kept thinking, like, it's like you did make 70% of the tour, but somehow that adds into me making more. But and I didn't know even the kind of money that came in. I didn't know the real YouTube thing. I didn't realize.
Nor was it your business, right? That's fair.
No, I never asked. Yeah, it was none of my business.
Your business. Yeah, it's his show.
And look, he created that empire. It's his money. Yes. It's his show. I never, and everything that I agreed to. That's the truth. So I never complained because that's what I agreed to.
Right.
So. Yeah, the only thing I did complain about was, like, you said you would promote my shows and you didn't, and that pissed me off. Okay. So but then we were on Christmas break and I didn't know what we were going to do. I didn't know if we were going to the Daily Wire or staying with the Blaze or whatever this whole controversy is. And then all of a sudden he's there talking about a contract for $50 million. Now, he didn't out the Daily Wire. He just said it was a contract for $50 million and said it was somebody. It was pretty obvious who it was, but in his defense, he didn't out them. But then Jeremy came out and outed it too.
Jeremy, the head of this Daily Wire.
Right. And I saw it and I thought, $50 million, and I looked at it.
He turned down $50 million, let's be clear. Or up, I think $50 million was the ceiling, but it wasn't starting at 50. But yeah,
yes.
For $50 million, Ben Shapiro can have my foot.
Oh, for $50 million, I couldn't even believe it. But it's also going. It hit me too, though, because that means, what are we worth? That I just sat in an office and was shamed. The timeline met up to back in August that he first got this $50 million offer through my agent that I introduced him to.
Oh, right, yeah.
Was at the same time that he knew what was going on in my personal life, that he decided to slide me a contract that said you have to do all this when he was being offered $50 million.
Yeah.
People are saying how much it costs to run the studio and everything else. It's like, So the way that I looked at it, I was like,
the challenger.
Yeah, let's not.
It's not cheap, but it's not $50 million. Yeah.
Hell, he's making a ton of money, which I'm not saying he doesn't deserve, but it's like at the same time, you knew that you were making a profit, and I was working very hard to help you make that profit, and your response was, fuck you, I'm going to take everything from you. And I just kind of was watching that like, is this for real?
Yeah.
And then they came back and said, well, we're going to kind of negotiate where, we come back with something, you come back with something. This isn't a contract. This is an offer sheet. And I listened to both sides and I thought, well, it seems that Jeremy's being very upfront and transparent here because he's pointing out everything. So I listened to a bunch of, different talking heads, but from what I could gather, each side had their points, but I felt that it was more of a stop big con thing seemed a little much.
Yeah.
And it seemed like pushing more of this infighting and this narrative. And if people really have these ideologies that they want to push and believe, it didn't come off as very true. It just came off as more of what I had experienced, and I just didn't buy it. And I was bothered by it. And then I thought, well, now you have this other company coming in who's paying God knows how much money. You have other companies that want to offer, and people are going, he said it's not about the money, but he just asked for $120 million. So $50 million isn't about the money, and then it's $120 million, isn't? And I'm just being honest, going, that seems a little weird. And then for me, watching it, knowing what I had to look at and have to make choices on, and knowing how frustrated I was, for pennies, it was, I just say it bothered me in a lot of ways, where I thought, I can just go and do my own thing, and I was much happier as just a road comic. I don't have to do this. I can just go do something else. It was his choice to rip up my contract, not mine.
Right.
It wasn't my choice for him to do this, so I wanted to go.
Were there let me ask this, just to be clear, were there any terms that were better with this proposed contract than you had already been receiving previously?
No.
Or was it all in the worst direction?
Oh, it was all in the worst direction. I wasn't sure. I was like, do you want to fire me? Like, just fire me.
You're right. It wasn't like the salary was doubled, but at the same time you got to move your family, right? It wasn't like a mix.
Right. No. It was, no. It was
a worse offer than you had originally by every metric.
By every metric, except my agent kept telling me, hang in there. I'm telling you, by February, you'll have $350,000 a year.
Okay. Why? How would that happen?
I had no idea, because it never did.
But why would it? If the contract's for less than that, why would it change by February?
No clue.
You're not allowed to tour. It doesn't make any sense. Okay.
And I kept...
Okay, so like I said, this whole discussion went on very, very long. It turns out Crowder had a light that only Dave Landau could see, and whenever Steven Crowder hit the button and the light would show up, that was for Dave Landau to stop talking so Steven Crowder could talk. So, and Landau also said Steven Crowder didn't like he would always have to get the last joke. He had to be the funniest one in the room. The family thing is weird to me, like forcing Landau to move his family to Texas, but like they're not paying for that move and he's not going to be paid any extra money for it, which is weird. Landau, praised Anthony Cumia during this whole thing. I think Landau now realizes he screwed up leaving Compound Media and is probably praying somehow Cumia takes him back, even though Cumia is moving to South Carolina now, so that ship has probably definitely sailed. But the whole Crowder thing is so weird to me. So he does this stop the big con thing. Secretly records people, then comes up with this ridiculous thing against the Daily Wire of, well, you can't dock me if I say offensive things or get thrown off of platforms. Like, all of it was purposely done just to start his own thing, and he backstabbed everyone around him. And, Landau didn't sign the NDA like Not Gay Jared did, who is Crowder's first co-host. So now Landau is retelling these insane stories of Crowder wants to do stand-up with Landau. And then Landau has an opener, and Crowder says, your opener can't do his closing bit. That's one of the things Landau said. And the whole, oh, you're going to release your comedy special? Well, I get some of it. It's like, what? They wouldn't allow Landau to promote his gigs on the show, which was the whole reason why Landau joined that show. The only reason why Landau left Cumia to go to that show, because like he said, he wasn't getting paid that much more money, like $1,000 more. But the main reason why he did it was obviously the vast audience. But Landau told a story of he's doing a gig and some guy comes up to him and he goes, hey, you're Dave Landau, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm doing a gig at the Funny Bone. He's like, well, why didn't you say it on Steven Crowder's show? I would have bought a ticket. They wouldn't even allow him to plug his gigs, which was the whole reason why Landau joined. Now, I wonder if this is just a Landau thing. Because obviously with Crowder's new people, he brought in Callan and Apollo and Jim Brewer. You would assume that he would try to pull that same thing with them that he did with Crowder. Although I'm wondering, because they're a lot bigger and more established than Landau. So, when Brian Callen, I mean, he's probably going to leave the fighter and the kid because now he's the co-host and he has the Friday show, exactly what they wanted Landau to do. But I doubt Callan is signing a contract saying you get my stand-up thing and I have to be here through 9 to 5. Because at the end of the day, Callan could just be like, you know who my dad is. And I know DePaulo's not going to do that. I know Jim Brewer is not going to do that. So I wonder if this was like a situation in which Crowder really did just want to fire Landau, but instead of fire him, just make a contract so ridiculous that he knew Landau just wouldn't sign it. Who would sign that? Who would sign a contract that says, all right, I can't do stand-up because of all the hours. They had a little clause in there that if he's 5 minutes late, he has to go home and he doesn't get paid that day. And I have to move my family to Texas. Like, I wonder if it was that overall. But, I mean, Crowder, man, just came off looking extremely scummy in all of this. I mean, the secretly recording the Daily Wire guy and how he treated Landau and stealing people's co-hosts. And he stole Landau's agent. Landau told a story that Steven Crowder stole Dave Landau's agent, and now his agent works for Steven Crowder and doesn't represent Landau anymore. Like, apparently that's just what this Crowder dude does. I don't know. But let me know your thoughts in the comments.